We have returned from our holiday hiatus, and today we are taking a look at the Max Crosby situation, the NFC South title, and where the 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers stand with one game left on their schedule. And at this point, they need some outside help to make the postseason. All that and more on today's Cannon Fire podcast.
I want to hear cannons. Downfield, pull up, ball to the 5, touchdown Tampa Bay. Mike Evans does it again. Fire the cannons, Bucs.
It's first and goal. That's picked off. And who else? Rondé Barber. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers may ride to the Super Bowl with that one.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up with the head. Intercepted. 30. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Hello and welcome back, Bucs fans. I am your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, as always, my good buddy and co-host from BucsNation.com, Mr. Evan Wanish. I know we kind of teased the Max Crosby thing at the start there, but I want to wrap up with that. Really, I want to talk about where the Bucs are right now, a 7-9 football team. And to be honest with you, man, I can't believe we're still sitting here doing this. The Bucs are now 7-9 after their fourth straight loss. They lose to the Miami Dolphins, and now their playoff fate hinges on the New Orleans Saints taking down the Atlanta Falcons. Sounds like an easy enough task when you take out the fact that this Atlanta Falcons team just took down the LA Rams on primetime. So safe to say things are shaping up for a fitting finale in the NFC South division. It will either be Carolina or Tampa Bay in the postseason, more than likely facing the LA Rams. The question is, who is it going to be and what is it going to take to get there? This Bucs team is everything but out of gas at this point. Some way, somehow, my friend, they are still in it. I don't think I've ever held on to a bad team this long in my entire life.
It's just, against all odds, right?
Just the way they drew it up.
Sure. And it's been this way, for a couple seasons now, right? There's been some dicey situations and some things that need to go the Bucs' way, but this season in particular, definitely is obviously the most obvious. Like, wow, like this is getting real dicey here. So, I know a lot of people in our chat and on social media and stuff are not really going to want to have this conversation about the playoffs, right? But like we have to talk about it because it's a reality, right? Like they could very well be playing another football game next weekend. That game would be a playoff game. They would host a playoff game. Whether you think that's fair or not. Argue with the rules committee who does the playoff format, right? I personally think that they should. Like, I don't agree. I think I forget which team posed it, but it was like it shouldn't really matter about divisions anymore. Like, it's his best record should get in. I still think there should be some value in winning your division. Like, I don't want to make divisions meaningless, but hosting a playoff game, I'm not sure if a 9-win Panthers team or an 8-win Buccaneers team should be hosting a playoff game. I don't really think that's particularly right against a, possibly 11 or 12-win Rams team or, a 49ers Seahawks team. All those teams they're all going to have double-digit wins. And you're going to be on the road to start the playoffs. So, you actually said that, it hinges on the Falcons beating the Saints, and it does. But we also have to worry about the Buccaneers have to beat the Panthers.
Yeah.
None of that matters on Sunday if the Bucs just lose on Saturday, right? So, and winning has become just impossible for this football team. Now, I will say it's hard to lose 5 games in a row. I actually looked it up. I was looking it up last night. The Buccaneers' last 5-game losing streak was back in 2017. That was the last time they had lost 5 games in a row. So, I mean, it's a long time, right? They've lost 4 in a row a couple times, including the last 2 seasons. But, and other seasons, prior to that. But 5 games, the last time it happened was 2017. It's pretty hard, to lose 5 games in a row. We'll see what happens, though, because this football team, they've had favorable matchup after favorable matchup, and have seemingly blown every chance that they have, right? At this point, I'm shocked that they found a way to win that Cardinals game.
Yeah.
Because just the way things are going, man, you would not expect that. And they barely did, right? But it just those coin flip games, right? And most of these games, to be fair, down the stretch here have been, obviously very close games and stuff, and they haven't gone the Bucs' way. But at some point, that's gonna matter, and I unfortunately do think it's gonna matter for Todd Bowles and his staff, and could be seeing a lot of lasts, in Tampa Bay on Saturday. Could be seeing Levante David's last game, not just as a Buccaneer, in the NFL in general. Mike Evans, I really don't expect him to retire. I don't think that's happening. But I guess at this point it's like going to be a year-to-year thing. I think so. It's going to be a discussion. So you could be seeing his last game in the NFL. You could be seeing Todd Bowles' last coach game as the Buccaneers head coach, which I think is a real possibility. So we'll see. We will see. But yeah, I mean, obviously the Falcons Saints thing, we'll get into that scenario. There's a lot of people I know still have some questions about that. But it really doesn't matter unless the Bucs take care of business on Saturday. And that's easier said than done right now for this team. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who they'd be able to beat in the NFL right now. I'm not sure who I'd have confidence, like 100% confidence that they're going to win that football game.
They are 1-7 over their last 8 games. I mean, it really is one of those things. When you look at the second half of this season, they are among the Giants, the Raiders. They are a bottom feeder. They are a terrible football team, and they have not really given us much evidence to suggest that even if they were going to make the postseason, magically things are gonna fall together. It seems like in every sense, this season has fallen apart for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what makes it even more disappointing than any other season that they have had like this before is the start that they had. I think the first 5-1 start in franchise history, they take a loss but come back, they're 6-2 and then just fell off a cliff. I mean, they limped into the bye week, hoped to get healthy, and have had absolutely nothing.
If they just played average football, the division would have been wrapped up 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Like all you have to do is play average football.
And there's a lot of things to that. We have been talking about all the different areas that this Bucs team needs to improve over the last month and a half. So we're not really going to harp on that on today's show. But if you do want to go back and relive that 5-game losing streak that you talked about in 2017, those were the early years of CFP. So those episodes are probably still available. Probably some terrible takes. I would not advise anybody to go listen to some 2017 episodes, but if you're a glutton for punishment like we all seem to be down here, then by all means, please go check it out. We would appreciate the extra downloads. Following the theme of nothing being easy for the Bucs this season, especially under Todd Bowles, as you mentioned before, the Bucs play Saturday at 4:30 p.m. So let's say they play Saturday. Let's say they handle business against the Carolina Panthers. Well, unfortunately, it's not like much. You can go party it up in the locker room. We won't be seeing the pictures of the hat and T-shirts because now the Buccaneers no longer control their fate for the NFC South title. The Bucs versus Panthers is no longer win and you're in for Tampa Bay. With the Falcons beating the Rams on Monday Night Football, all the Falcons have to do to mess things up for us, which, again, would be just so fitting to put a bow on this season. If the Falcons beat the Saints on Sunday, Carolina will take the NFC South crown with a 3-way tiebreaker at 8-9. The Panthers will be crowned division champs. The Panthers could lose that game in Tampa and still walk away the division winner if the Falcons handle business. And interestingly enough, I saw something today. The Falcons' record when they have been eliminated from the playoffs over the last several years, they're 12-4. They are, like, when you look at teams who really step up and play their best when they have absolutely nothing to play for, the Falcons are one of those teams. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that there's quite a few people, even though the Falcons don't have a chance at the playoffs, they would love nothing more than to play upset for Tampa Bay. And
Yeah.
that is, very, very much the case here. So nothing is easy for the Bucs. Even if they handle business on Saturday, they got to wait around till Sunday to see if they can open up their hat and T-shirts.
Yeah, and but also, the Saints have been playing good football, right? Like it's actually funny, like the two best teams that have been playing the best football in this division are the two teams that are third and fourth, not the teams that are first and second, right? Like the Panthers have been literally almost the entire season win loss win loss win loss win loss. Like they haven't really gone on a sustained winning streak, and that's why they haven't really pulled away from the Bucs, right? And the Bucs didn't pull away from the Panthers because the Bucs, like you said, have now lost four straight. We're started 6-2, now are 7-9, um, clinching a losing season. By the way, for the second time in Todd Bowles' 4 seasons as head coach, so half of the time. Now, I will say, obviously, 2022, when you really look at it, they pulled their starters at halftime of the Atlanta game week 18. They had the lead at halftime in that game. If they keep the starters in, do they win? They go 9-8 instead of 8-9. Okay, right. But this is going to be a losing record no matter what. If the Buccaneers come out there and they beat the Panthers 45-10, and everything looks great, you're still gonna be 8-9. Like you're still gonna be below 500 no matter what. So yeah, really, really disappointing. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how that Saints and Falcons game plays out. I mean, obviously it might not matter, right? Because if the Panthers beat the Bucs, that's it. Or if the Panthers and Buccaneers tie, I believe that's it also. Because obviously the Panthers would have one more win than Tampa Bay. So the only way that Falcons and Saints games matters is if the Buccaneers win against Carolina. If they don't, it doesn't matter what happens there. So, yes, they don't control everything, but they still control a good bit because the second part doesn't matter if the first part doesn't happen. The first part is it's a requirement, right? It is a requirement. It must happen or else it doesn't matter. So, it does suck, and they have nobody to blame but themselves, right? Nobody. Like there is nobody else to. Oh my! It's not like the Panthers all of a sudden got hot and have won 4 or 5 games in a row, right? And you're like, man, they caught their stride at the right time. No, they had a chance to end it last week. They could have beaten Seattle. Now I understand. I think Seattle's obviously clearly a better football team than Carolina, but they could have won that game. They it could have been over right now. They had an opportunity to beat New Orleans a couple weeks ago and lost that game. They got swept by New Orleans. And then they beat Tampa Bay the next week. If they had just beaten New Orleans, they would have been NFC South champions. So the Panthers have had their chances. Nobody really wants this division. It is funny, though, that the Falcons, they can't win the division, but they can screw it up for someone
Yeah.
else. It is kind of funny that, like, it doesn't really matter what they do. Like, they're eliminated. But they can still kind of change the course of this division. That is kind of crazy.
Well, something the Falcons and Panthers have been able to do this season as well that the Bucs just simply could not was beat the Rams. I know that it's easy to discount Atlanta now because, yes, they have nothing to play for except for spoiler, but, like, that's an impressive win on primetime against a team that you would think is kind of hitting its stride right now. I know Matt Stafford had a pretty off night, but, like, man, 90% of the year, he's been kind of your MVP 1A candidate. When you look at the landscape and look at just his production, man, I didn't expect that kind of night, and I didn't expect that. Well, let me say that. There's always a feeling in the back of my mind that, like, yeah, the worst case scenario is going to happen, and the Falcons, as soon as I heard that, oh, if the Falcons win their next 2 games, I was like, they're going to beat the Rams. It just, I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall there, but that's the beauty of this disgusting ass NFC South division is that they I don't know. They're just the bottom feeders of the
Nobody
NFL.
wants it, and to be honest with you, look, and I understand those players as an achievement and stuff. There's going to be two different feelings, right? In the Tampa Bay locker room versus the Carolina locker room.
Yeah.
In the Carolina locker room, it is going to be, man, this is the start of something good here, right? Was this season perfect? Nope. But man, we were still rebuilding, right? Like we weren't expected to, if people weren't picking Tampa to win the division this year, they were picking Atlanta. Like not many people were picking Carolina. And they're like, wow, this is a perfect step in the right direction. You go over to the other locker room, and it's, or at least, it should be, yeah, we won the division, but we made it a lot harder on ourselves than we needed to, and this has got to be better. Like, and if you have the mentality of, oh, well, yeah, we're NFC South champs yet again, like, no. Like, you shouldn't be really celebrating anything if you win this division, because you should have won it 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
There's nothing to celebrate.
Well, and it's a trend too. I mean, not only have the Bucs failed to deliver in moments that, they could have made life easier for themselves. That's a common theme with the Todd Bowles coach team, at least here in Tampa Bay. But on top of that, like another trend that we had seen when we talk about this losing streak that we are still in the middle of, that you can't seem to find our way out of our own way. They're back to being the team that just finds ways to lose. And, you can't help but get the feeling that there's more than a few guys, whether on the field, in the locker room, wherever within the organization. It just feels like guys are kind of done. Feels like guys are kind of checked out. Feels like the coaching staff just doesn't have any answers. They've been out of answers for weeks. I mean, you got Todd Bowles going up on the podium, throwing players under the bus. And yes, you can look at the All-22 and you can question some of the execution here and there, but it's just like, this is not a team in a good place. There was the report that came out that I thought was kind of hilarious. There was a report that came out about the TVs in the Bucs locker room. I don't know if you saw this or not, but all season, pretty much always, they have talking heads on, right? They'll have ESPN, NFL Network, blah, 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 maybe background noise. I don't know if the volume's up or not. But last week, leading up to the Miami game, they had turned all of that off, and they had been playing highlights. They played 2025 Bucs highlights. So, like, 45-second highlight reel, I guess. I can't imagine many other highlights.
Weeks 1 through 6.
Right, yeah. You get highlights of the team they used to be. And the report came out today. I know it's only walkthroughs, but the team is back in the facility. Guys are in the locker room talking to the media. It was reported that it looked like locker clean-out day in there today. It was quiet. There was nothing on the TVs. So Todd Bowles isn't a guy that's only going to take away the ping pong table, but he's going to take away your TV privileges as well. There was nothing on the television in the Buccaneers locker room. It just, man, like I don't want to get into the coach stuff, because it's like, it's hard for me to really sit here and talk about the changes that may or may not be on the way, that should be on the way.
I think we'll be on the way. But
I think we'll be on the way, regardless of the report saying otherwise, which we will talk about here in a second. It's hard for me to entirely, start beating the table and talking about this, because despite it all, my friend, despite everything we've said, everything we've watched happen this season, they're still in it. Like, they're relying on outside help. But what are we going to do if this team makes the playoffs? Like, I'm not going to be upset, because as a lifelong Bucs fan, you and I both, we watched a lot of losing. And we're still watching a lot of losing. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But at the same time, if the Bucs found a way to win the division, they make it into the dance. That's really what it's all about. I think we said at the beginning of the year, and I know that we've said before, oh, dude, I already know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking the same thing. But it is the NFL. And anything can happen in the NFL. It's just, what are we gonna do? What
we're gonna cover the game.
Of course we are. Of course we are.
And then right, the next episode will be the season review show. So
there has never been a team in the history of the division to win it 5 years in a row. Even when the Saints were doing their thing in the 2010s, they never won the division more than 4 years in a row. So, like, that would be cool. That would be historic. It would be a team first. It would be a division first, right? Like, that's the stuff you want to see happen. But it really does feel like, Evan, as we get into some of these reports about Todd Bowles and his hot seat, if you will, I think the only thing that could save Bowles at this point is like an appearance in the NFC Championship game, because I just don't see any way, and I don't have any reason to believe that he's going to, oh, we got to coach them better, they got to play it better kind of thing. We hear that week in and week out. I don't have any reason to believe that that's going to change within 2 weeks. And even if they make the postseason, do you have any reason to believe that this team looks cohesive enough to beat an opponent like the Rams?
I don't think they beat anybody. Like, you look at that playoff field. Who are they beating? Like in both the NFC and the AFC, who are they beating? Like, they can't beat the Miami Dolphins. Like, who is this team beating in a playoff game? I don't know. Like, I don't think there's anybody. And some matchups may be closer than others, but there's some, like, if the Rams come to town again, it's gonna be the same exact thing. Like, it will be the exact same thing. I'm not expecting anything different. That game's gonna be ugly. I will say, I think props to Bucs fans for one reason, many reasons, but one in particular reason has been the last couple of weeks. They've shown that they're no longer accepting mediocrity, right? Yep. You kind of get used to, even though, yeah, sure, they've been one and done the playoffs 2 out of the last 3 years. They've like barely squeaked in and stuff. I get that, right? But you like winning the division, right? You like going to the playoffs and potentially winning a playoff game. And they've grown to be comfortable with that. And now they're not going to accept mediocrity. This isn't, I remember, we threw the 2016 Bucs a parade because they missed the playoffs, but they went 9-7. We were like, oh my God, a winning record. This is great. That is, and it was progress, right? Like, it's sort of a similar boat that the Panthers are in, right? Like, they'll be looked at as this season as a success. The Buccaneers will not. So, and I think that good on Bucs fans, like good on them for not accepting, not being like, oh, well, gee whiz, we had our run, and if we make it, we make it. All good things must come to an end, I guess. But no, like, good on them for wanting change, demanding change, saying this is not okay, because it's not.
No, it's not.
It's simply not okay. There's no way to excuse it. And yeah, so really quick in the chat, a lot of talk about like Trayvon Diggs. He was just released by the Cowboys, zero interest. Which, by the way, like, he wouldn't come in. He's not going to come in right now and do anything for your defense. It's just not. It's just not. Yeah, what am I trying to say? Not that it's not possible.
Not
it's
the
not
cards.
really feasible, maybe, right? Is the word that, yeah, he's going to come in and learn an entire defense and actually play. And also, like, if you look at the numbers and you watch the tape, he hasn't really been that good since like 2023. Like, he hasn't really been the same player. I think he had the major injury one year. Hasn't really been that same player. So his last couple of years have been rough. I mean, maybe you take a flyer on him in the offseason, but like right now, that I'm good. But yeah, I mean, just wanted to say that. Kudos to Bucs fans for, not really accepting just well, it was we're gonna miss the playoffs this year, but it's okay. Like, no, like, it's not okay.
Just to kind of add on to the Trayvon Diggs thing really quickly, here are some statistics from him for his 2025 season. Hasn't played a ton. 17 receptions allowed on 20 targets, 4 touchdowns allowed, 158.3 passer rating allowed. That's a perfect passer rating. 0 pass breakups, and a plus 27.2 target EPA, which is absolutely insane. It is the highest passer rating allowed among 616 corners with at least 20 targets in a season since 2020 per Next Gen Stats. Not great. Not ideal. So yeah,
we'll talk about a player that the Buccaneers should be interested in training for, or acquiring, I should say, a little bit later. But yeah, Trayvon Diggs, even if the Buccaneers signed him right now, like, he's not playing this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, and then you get him for a playoff game you may not play. That may not actually happen. So I doubt it.
So the Bowles situation, I agree wholeheartedly with what you had just said. I think it is apparent. And people can say what they want. I've seen it framed as like, oh, Bucs fans are spoiled. It's like, dude, we still have the lowest winning percentage in the entire NFL. Like, for a team, for an expansion team that's been around for half the time as some of the other long-standing NFL franchises, the Bucs are still lovable losers at heart, especially this season. I have never in my life, aside from maybe like 2011, when you end the year losing 10 straight, I can't think of a similar collapse. And I think this one arguably hurts a little bit more because we didn't get far enough into the season in 2011. I think they were
they were 4-2. They ended 4-12.
Right. We've seen, God, what did Baltimore start 1-6 this year?
Something like that. It was pretty rough. Yeah.
They're playing for a playoff spot this weekend.
Yeah. The Buccaneers and the Saints can have the exact same record. Like, that's possible. The Saints were like 2-7 or whatever a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they can finish with the exact same record.
This Buccaneers team, with Todd Bowles as their head coach, has found a way to piss me off like no other Bucs team I have ever watched in my entire life. It's inexcusable. And I think, the big conversation we tend to have year in and year out with Todd Bowles, and we were talking about it at the beginning of the season, injuries are always going to pop up. The Bucs are 1-7 over their last 8 games, and they've been the healthiest they have been.
They haven't won a game since Mike Evans has been back in the lineup.
Isn't that insane to you? The Bucs were a 6-2 football team missing half the roster. And it really gave us this false sense of like, damn, they're really overcoming a lot. Can you imagine what they're going to look like when they're back to full strength? And I don't have words for what we have seen happen. I really don't.
The offense got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, and Jalen McMillan back, and they've gotten worse. It's pretty hard to fathom. It really is. Steven in the chat says we can rebuild this team and be ready for the end of next year to hopefully compete for the Super Bowl. I don't know about Super Bowl, but I actually do agree that, like, I know some people are going to think this, but I don't think this is rebuild time. I don't think that. There's too much talent on the team. Like, well, do I think they're gonna win 13 games next year? Probably not. Right, but like I could see a return to like winning the NFC South, especially if they don't win it this year. Just saying, you're gonna have a second or third place schedule next year, and that you could benefit from that also, and a higher draft pick, obviously.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate a third place schedule.
No, like the third place schedule and like the 12th overall pick. That's good.
Like I know that we never want to root for the Bucs to lose. I never want to root for the Bucs to lose, but I think when we look at the long term, and especially just looking into next year and the advantages you're going to have on your schedule, you're not going to be facing a first place schedule if you fall short. But Ergo5 here with probably the chat message of the year. This one really made me laugh. He says, this team couldn't beat the Savannah Bananas right now.
I mean, probably not.
They're playing a different sport entirely, and I agree wholeheartedly.
I don't know what sport the Bucs are playing. So
maybe they're trying to play banana ball. Maybe that's the approach.
Maybe.
That's why guys are so lost. So let me ask you.
Really, I want to keep talking about Bulls for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because obviously it's going to be a big point of discussion, right? And the reason I want to talk about this is just the Ian Rappaport thing, which had everybody in a frenzy.
What
right?
a load of crap, man.
Yeah, it's... So basically, if you had not seen it, one, I guess you're not on any social media. Two, Ian Rappaport goes on, I think it's like the NFL Insider Show Sunday morning.
Yeah, it was like game day. It was game day morning. I think it was Rich Eisen and those people.
And then basically, it was like, questions have been raised about, Todd Bowles' status with the Buccaneers because of, the way they've been playing and stuff. And he goes, Todd Bowles not expected to be fired and stuff like that. But his reasoning, and that would be fine, right? If he had sort of framed it in a way that makes it sound like, okay, he's being told this by somebody. He really wasn't. All he said was, well, Bowles has won the division title 3 years in a row, and he just received a contract extension. So it doesn't really sound like somebody who'd be fired to me. And I'm like, okay, that's not but that's not really telling me much, right? To me, you know who told him that? It's the same thing that people accused him of a couple weeks ago with Devin White when
Yeah.
he said Devin White was comeback player of the year. Devin White's agent probably told him that. I bet you Bowles' agent or somebody in Bowles' camp maybe wanted to slip that to Ian Rappaport a little bit. So
Yeah.
until somebody like I'm not saying Ian Rappaport's not reliable, he very much is. But like, if you get Adam Schefter saying the exact same thing, right? And you get this guy and this guy saying the exact same thing, okay, then maybe. But right now, especially if they lose on Sunday, I have a hard time, very hard time seeing Todd Bowles back as the Buccaneers head coach next year. I don't see how, and I understand that the fans do not run this team, but I, I don't see how you can look them in the eyes and say we believe that this is going to get better, right? Because I think it's probably gotten the best it's going to be. Like last year was probably the best it's going to be with Bowles, I think. So I again, even if they make the playoffs, I'm not 100% certain that Bowles. See, so yeah, you think that he might need an NFC Championship game preview appearance.
You think he just
I
needs
think he
a win?
probably just needs to win a playoff game. If he wins a playoff game, I think he's safe. If he loses, though, I think he could retire.
Yeah.
Which, for our audio listeners, I put that in air quotes. So it could be oh, you can't fire me, I'm quitting, basically, type of deal. Or he's moving up to the front office in an advisory role,
Right.
something like that. Um, I could see that scenario as well, but I just again, I don't know how you look your your fans in the eyes and your season ticket holders in the eyes and say, "Hey, we want you guys to come back next year and pack the stadium, but we're going to keep the exact guys that have just made you miserable right now." Pewter Report did a poll on their Twitter, and I'm
Yeah.
going to pull up the results of that poll
Oh, buddy.
just to sort of get a good gauge, right, of where Bucks fans are at. Pewter Report did a poll. Says, does Todd Bowles deserve to return as the Bucks head coach in 2026? Not Woody, right? Just does he deserve to return? So the things were yes, no matter what. Only if Bucks win division. No, absolutely not. The final results with 2,151 votes. Yes, no matter what, got 4% of the vote. Only if Bucks win division got 6% of the vote. And
Mm.
no, absolutely not, got 90% of the vote. 90% of over 2,100 people. That's your paying customers right there, Glazers. Right? Like that is your consumer. That is the people who go to the games, fill the stands, spend their hard-earned money to watch your product, spend their Sundays on their couch to watch your product. That's them talking. And I have a hard time if this ends, the way we think it's going to end with either them missing the playoffs completely or just getting bounced in the first round. I have a hard time believing that the Glazers are going to be like, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, and listen, as a guy who has come on this podcast before, and I don't want to say defended Todd Bowles, but I have certainly given him a longer lead than I think most people have. He lost me entirely after that Atlanta Falcons game. That collapse was just on Thursday night, man. It was what everybody saw coming. Kirk Cousins, it was way too easy for him. And like we knew that was going to happen. And even in the fourth quarter, when the Bucs have a 2-possession lead, they found a way to lose that game. And I mean, that's in the midst of an already terrible slump. I hate to call it a slump because it's just it's like they keeled over and died after the bye week. You can't even call it a slump. They got JFK'd.
Oh.
It's
I
that
mean,
bad.
you're not wrong.
It I don't think when you talk about standards and you talk about where this team wants to be and the ultimate goal is to build a championship roster,
Should be,
to
yeah.
chase a Super Bowl. And at the
Mhm.
beginning of the season when the Bucs were healthy, I think we felt like they were close enough. Maybe not, realistically there were some holes on the defensive side of the ball that we had talked about even before the start of the season. But for the most part, especially on the offense, when healthy, this was a team that should have won football games and was winning football games despite the injuries. They started 6-2, and they've just had nothing. And the other thing too, when we start to talk about the things that are ailing this Bucs team, like it's, this collapse is on more than just Todd Bowles. Like, it is apparent that there are issues all over the board, and we're going to talk about those a little bit here because it's more than just Bowles. But when it's year 7 of a defensive system, and you've got guys who have been in this system for 3, 4, 5 years or more, just consistently lost or out of position or not necessarily doing the minute things they should be doing, who is that on, right? Like, why do these guys, after so many years, just not have an understanding? Yeah. Chris Shula with the Rams, when you watch them every now and again, they do
head coaching candidate, by the way.
Yeah, they do a lot of things that a Todd Bowles defense does. They drop Jared Verse back into coverage. They simulate pressures. They do a lot of that. But the fundamentals that those guys have in following up the start of those plays, shadowing receivers, being in the right place at the right time, and tackling people.
Yeah, that's...
I think it's a lot of it's coaching.
Yeah. I understand miscommunication is going to happen, right? Like, breakdowns are going to happen. But when they happen as consistently as they do, and you have just consistently have guys just looking around pointing,
point fingers,
being so confused, oh, I thought you were going to be in that spot. No, I was supposed to be here. You're supposed to be there. Well, I wasn't, that's where you have an issue, right? And look, is it all Todd Bowles' fault? No, right? When you talk about the Rams have more talent on defense than the Buccaneers do, right? Like, that's a Jason Light problem as well. And this isn't the time. We'll get to that. Trust me. Like, when the offseason officially gets underway, we will talk about what this team needs and what Jason Light hasn't done to get this team, over the hump so far. Because he shares blame for this too, right? It's Todd Bowles, it's Baker Mayfield, it's the rest of the players, it's Jason Light. Like, they all share a little bit piece of the blame here. But somebody's got to fall on the sword, right? Somebody has to fall on the sword. And unfortunately for Bowles, man, like, the easiest thing to do right now, the easiest big move that you can make, you can't jettison the entire team. It's get rid of the head coach. Like, it just is. So, James in the chat, not James Hill, different James in the chat, says Glazers are not going to hire a Munkin or a Kubiak. They want to splash hire like when they hired Gruden. Why not go after Freeman or Sark, leaders of men who command respect, or Tomlin or John Harbaugh? Well, he's talking about Notre Dame head coach Marcus Freeman, who's already said that he is not. He's actually informed, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago, a report came out that he informed interested teams that he is staying at Notre Dame. And then he's also talking about Steve Sarkisian, who is the head coach at Texas. I do not foresee Sark leaving Texas. Tomlin, dude, Steelers fans want him gone. Like, he's very similar to Bowles. He's actually more conservative than Bowles is, especially this year. So, like, Tomlin, is he a better coach? Yeah, sure. He's obviously better than Todd Bowles, but I don't think Bucs fans know exactly what they'd be signing up for. Harbaugh, I am a little bit interested in if they do make a change there, but Ravens fans have kind of been becoming sick of him as well.
I think Munkin's my guy.
It's a good name.
I like Todd Monken. I was a big fan of Todd Monken when he was here as well. The one season he was an offensive coordinator, the Bucs still had a top 10 offense. As far as Mike Tomlin goes, man, like, yeah, in certain ways he's a better leader, a better coach than Todd Bowles, but some of his philosophies, just, I don't want to say obsolete because they are still, as of right now, looking like a playoff team, but I don't know. I think there are some.
Like I said, you want to talk about conservatives. Some of the punt decisions that people have issues with Bowles of, like, punting on 4th down. If it's 4th and 1 at the 50 and you're a Mike Tomlin led team, you're punting.
Yeah.
Like, you are punting the ball.
I can't believe we've been talking about Todd Bowles for 40 minutes, but I'm going to put a bow on it with this. We were talking about the rap sheet report. There was another report that got picked up, and less of a report and more of just like a personal inkling, but it was Hall of Famer Rondé Barber on the Rondé Barber show had said that he doesn't get the feeling that Bowles' seat is hot. And I think I can't speak for him, and I won't. But I
will say also, both of these were done before the Miami game as well.
Yes, they were done before the Miami game, but I'm also going to add a little bit of context to the Rondé situation. Context clues here matter, man. And I have a feeling that if you go on your talk show as a guy who is in the facility like 2 to 3 times a week, and you just kind of openly say, what everybody else is thinking while this team still has a fighting chance at the playoffs, like it's going to be an awkward situation. So, I'm not saying that I don't believe what he says. It's just read between the lines a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it is one of those things that not necessarily got blown out of proportion, but much like you said, with it being before the Miami game, man, even if like the Glazers had their mind made up on.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Miami game completely flipped them, but like it's a results-based business. Like
it's just another opportunity where even at the Sunday morning, I don't want to say the expectation, but the overwhelming feeling is like, man, if they're at all a serious team, they're going to figure it out and they're going to win against Miami. And it was just anything but. Nothing looked easy.
They started off good. They get the stop on defense, and then we haven't really talked about the Miami game much, but like they get the stop on defense, and then they score a touchdown. You're like, okay, like maybe things are, maybe this is gonna be maybe not completely pretty, but you're finally gonna get all right. It's like a 24-10 game. All right, whatever. You won the game. You did what you should do, and it just didn't happen. And things snowballed, and Baker didn't play well, and again, that's not on Bowles, right? Baker making a couple of dumb, like mistakes basically is not on Todd Bowles, but again, somebody needs to fall on the sword. Like somebody has to do it.
We'll get to the Baker situation here in a minute, but yeah, that Miami game, man, it was 7-0 in the first quarter, and then out of nowhere, 17 unanswered points by Miami, and man, at that point. They certainly didn't look like a team that was going to have any kind of solution.
You know what this feels really quick, because we have other stuff to get to before we wrap up. So, it feels a lot like Lovie Smith in 2015 for me.
Oof.
Where, no, just similar of like there was a lot of national people saying he's not going anywhere. Like they were 2-14 and then they went 6-10. Like they improved, right? They have a rookie quarterback. They want to keep building it. It feels like kind of similar to me. And like they're like, oh yeah, well, duh. Why would they get rid of him? Basically, like that tone from the a lot of the national media that don't maybe follow it as close, right? Obviously, Rondé Barber is, but like an Ian Rappaport, he's not following the Bucs day in and day out, To me, it just feels very similar, right? So this Bucs season ended Sunday with a loss against the Carolina Panthers in 2015. Then Monday happened, nothing. Tuesday happened, nothing. Wednesday happens, and it's not until like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night that the Buccaneers fire Lovie Smith. I think you might see something similar. Like I think you might see something similar. Maybe it's a little bit sooner than that. But like, and also the thing was like, oh, the players were like stunned and stuff, like Gerald McCoy and stuff, Levante David, like they were all like stunned at the news of the firing and stuff. Like not many people expected it. So, but I think a lot of the fan base, maybe not all, but a large portion of the fan base was like, yeah, like Lovie, like this team isn't going anywhere with Lovie Smith. And I understand it's different, right? Lovie Smith, it was 2 years where they won 8 games total. They didn't win a home game in 2014. Like Bowles had more success. I get that. But I think when you're looking at the future, like, can you go to where you want to get to with Todd Bowles? I think, Bucs fans were like, yeah, you can't do it with Lovie Smith. I think that'd be a pretty similar thing for Todd Bowles. So we'll see.
I had this conversation with James, and the way that I feel about it is I feel like the best case scenario with Todd Bowles as the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Best case scenario. You struggle to get to 10 or 11 wins. You may or may not win in the first round. And your offensive coordinator is going to be a head coach somewhere. That is the best case scenario. When you look at 2023 and 2024, we got a playoff win in 23, first round exit in 24, unfortunately, but you got the most production out of your quarterback with a stud offensive coordinator who is now competing for the 1 seed in the AFC with his new coach. So we're not going to go down that road.
Also, I saw somebody else. A lot of people were up in arms about Bruce Arians on Pat McAfee today. Said, I don't think the Buccaneers or Falcons are going to make a coaching change. Yeah, you think Bruce Arians is going to say that he thinks the Buccaneers are making a coaching change
right
when he basically handpicked the Bucs head coach? I don't think so.
Yeah, I love Bruce, man, but one of the things I don't love him for is definitely getting us saddled up with this guy.
He's loyal. He's loyal to a fault.
Right, and God bless.
But yeah,
him.
I really don't think he's gonna say the dude that he basically handpicked to be the Bucs head coach. Like, yeah, no, he's done. Like, I don't think so.
Let's talk about Baker Mayfield, because we've talked for almost an hour about Todd Bowles and a lot of the shortcomings of this Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team. And you know what? The state of things as they are right now, man, it's like everybody's just done, right? The overwhelming feeling is everybody we just wish the season. I wish the Bucs didn't have a chance at the playoffs solely because, like,
I mean, I wish that we still had a 16-game regular season. Then the season would be done.
Right.
Should be too. Like, I saw somebody tweet, they were like, "Oh, these records, like, they look beautiful." Like, they do. Like 12-4, 13-3. Like, it's got a nice ring to it, And like, you had that extra game. Now they want to do another game. Like, no, we're getting crazy here.
So we've been talking about what's currently ailing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and a topic that, as much as I hate it, man, we have to talk about it. Every single time we do this, I preface, I like Baker Mayfield. Despite it all, I still like Baker. He has been a huge issue here in the second half of the season, and I truly think he has been an issue so many weeks in a row. Has he done some good things during this time? Sure. Has it mattered when you look at the Bucs being 1-7 over their last 8 games? I guess not, right? I guess not. But Baker's just been bad. Like, he has been missing throws that he shouldn't be missing. The reads are off. Sometimes it's just you try to do too much. Sometimes it's, getting happy feet in the pocket, whatever it is. This is the roughest stretch we have seen from Baker Mayfield in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform. So obviously he needs to step up. But with all of that being said, he is more than likely going to be the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next season. Let me ask you this question, though, because it's fair to say, in my opinion, I think he has played bad enough for enough weeks that it's a fair thing to say, hey, maybe the Bucs should evaluate the quarterback position in the upcoming offseason. I don't expect them to move on from Baker Mayfield, but the big contingency is going to be that contract. Is it a 1-year deal for Baker Mayfield, or do you think after everything we have seen and the injuries, because that's another thing too, I am just counting down the days that we get a report after the season that, oh, Baker's got way more injury trouble than, we were told, or Baker was playing through this and doing that, blah, blah, blah. I'm waiting for it because, like, maybe it's a PR agent puff piece, right? Maybe it is following the theme of let's float something out there so his terrible play is a little bit more excusable. I still think that's on the table, and I expect it to be on the table. But even with that being said, healthy or not, he's just been missing throws that he should not be missing as an NFL quarterback. So my question to you, Evan, is in the realm of possibilities, one, what do you think that contract extension looks like? Because at the beginning of the season, it's like it was a foregone conclusion that, like, yeah, the Bucs are probably going to sign Baker to an extension. 2-3 years. I know he's 31, so it's not like he's getting any younger. But what do you think this offseason is going to look like? Do you think it is a stretch to say the Bucs legitimately should evaluate the quarterback position? There's not it's not like there's a huge list of guys out there that when they play their best ball, they're going to be way better than Baker Mayfield. I think the biggest surprise as far as quarterback movement this offseason is probably going to be like Lamar Jackson ending up in Miami. But
I don't think that's happening anyway. So
at the end of the day, when you look at Baker, you look at everything we've seen in the second half of this season. Where do you stand with Bake?
Oh, so here's the thing, right? You said more likely than not he's going to be the Bucs head coach. Yeah,
Whoa!
There's the plot twist. Yeah, I know. I had sources on this for weeks, and I just let it slip. Man, oh man, sorry, source. Breaking news here. Bowles is out, Baker's in. It's gonna be like Jackie Moon. But he is gonna be the Bucs quarterback in 2026. Like that's going to happen. Like it's. Nah, I don't really think it's a question. One of the reasons, right, is because like the contract structure, like if they move on, I think they have some dead money.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think the one thing that has changed is maybe an extension, right? So like, what would an extension look like? Well, nobody's gonna like the number. I can tell you that. Will the number be as high as it would have been, right? Maybe like in like late October, you're thinking it might have been. No, it won't be as high. But it's still going to be, for people's taste, it's still going to be too high because they think he's like, oh, it should be like 20 a year. Well, when it's 45 a year, people are going to be flipping out, right? But I don't think Baker Mayfield is getting an extension anymore. I know I said that he was going to. I've sort of changed my stance on that. And again, it's because of his play. I think the Buccaneers are content to let him ride out 2026, potentially with a new head coach and offensive play caller, and see how things go. And they'll evaluate from there. Another reason why I think that Baker Mayfield, just really quick to put a bow on it, is going to be the Bucs quarterback in 2026. Let me read you a list.
Oof.
The list is the free agent quarterbacks for this offseason.
Let's do it.
Daniel Jones, who is coming off a torn Achilles. Aaron Rodgers, who might retire and is 44 years old. Russell Wilson. Marcus Mariota.
Phillip Rivers.
Tyrod Taylor. Zach Wilson. 42-year-old Joe Flacco. Kenny Pickett.
You know what? You know what? I'm going to say, I'm not going to say it. You know what I'm thinking.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Mitch Trubisky. And then a bunch of crap.
Bunch of dudes.
Like, okay. Unless you are on team, this team needs to tank and it needs to be a rebuild. Okay, then sure, move on from Baker Mayfield. Then that's fine. But if you are trying to be competitive in 2026, who is realistically available to you that is going to be a better option than Baker Mayfield in 2026? There isn't one. Like there simply isn't one. So, yeah, I just. He's their best option, and I'm okay with that. Like I don't think that's a bad thing. But like Joe Burrow, not happening. Lamar Jackson, not happening. And then there's no other dudes. And even if they were, they're available. Like two dudes who could be available for trade, right? Tua and Kyler Murray. You really want any of them over Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
Both of them are making more than Baker. And I think they're both worse. So, that's a tough thing, right? So I think Baker Mayfield's gonna be the Bucs quarterback in 2026, and I think he should be because I think he's simply their best option. He just is.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes the approach for a new head coach really interesting when you talk about the situation that the Bucs are in, because it's not like he's not inheriting a 3-win football team. And the roster is at a point where, they're going to have to mix some things up. Like, this defense is going to look vastly different next year.
Yes.
But on the offensive side of the ball, your front five is kind of shored up. And luckily, Ben Chiquuma.
Most of your entire offense really is kind of like.
I mean, Rachaad White is yet to be determined, but I have a
Kate Otten.
Yeah, like Sean Tucker. I think between White or Tucker, one of those two will be back. But
you're talking about two guys who aren't the primary back, and then a tight end who like is fine, but like can be replaced. Like other than that, like they got most of the pieces.
I think the importance is that offensive line, because really that is the biggest strength of this Bucs team when they have been on, is their ability to protect Baker Mayfield. And you can say whatever you want about Michael Jordan and the other replacement practice squad guards. While they haven't been
you got
great,
Dan Feeney,
while they haven't been great, they've done a decent job like this year with protection. And I know that sounds crazy because
sometimes,
Baker's play. Sometimes
Mike Jordan's had his moments.
No, you're right. Mike Jordan has had some horrendous reps. He looks like he's fallen asleep out there sometimes. And like Graham Barton is not playing well. But, he's being asked to do a lot when you consider the lack of talent on both sides of him. But getting these guys healthy, that front five, I think, is going to be a huge piece next year. This is a roster that a coach, the right coach, can come in and get the most out of. And obviously, that is much easier said than done, especially when you look at the current crop of candidates. But we'll see. I think as far as Baker goes, he is a quarterback, just like most quarterbacks in the NFL. You need good coaching to kind of unlock that potential. And, man, I hope that that's what it's going to be.
Again, I think, and I've said this before, I think there's a happy medium between what Baker was in the first 6 weeks versus what he's been the last 7 weeks or whatever. Like, I think that there is a happy medium there where, like, that is a winning quarterback. Is he an MVP, candidate winner? Probably not, right? Like, I think he's probably playing a little bit above his head, in the first 6 weeks or so. But, like, I also think, like, he's not this bad, so.
All right, let's wrap it up with Max Crosby. We kind of threw that out there at the very beginning of the show, and we're finally just now getting into it. I didn't expect to talk about Todd Bowles for an hour, but we have – it is Festivus, and there is a lot of grievances that people need to hear. So, Max Crosby, here is the situation. Now, it has been reported that he has returned to the facility, but it was initially reported that for the final 2 games of the season, the Raiders had planned to shut him down due to some lingering leg injuries. He's been playing through it all year, and as soon as he heard that news, he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And they decided to shut him down, and he left the facility. Now, again, the reports have been updated that he did return to the facility, but I truly think that with everything we hear about the Raiders, like, unless it is just a blind loyalty, which, listen, some players have. There's guys who are loyal to bad franchises, and
you're looking at, Levante David and Gerald McCoy were here. Levante David's been here his entire career. The Bucs weren't exactly world beaters for most of his career.
Maybe that's the future Max Crosby wants for himself. But I do think when we look at that situation and we compare it to the situation of every other prestige pass rusher in the NFL, this one, when you talk about the Bucs making an aggressive offseason move, there's a couple of different ways you can draw it up. This one feels like the most tangible. And to be completely honest with you, I think something else to consider here is, yes, I would very much like the Bucs to go out and do something like that. When you talk about what he's being paid versus the production he's given you, I think his contract is still like right around $30 million.
Yeah, it's just under, I think, for like the next 3 years, I think. After this,
when you compare that to like Myles Garrett money, the production you're getting, man, like I'd have no problem paying him $30 million a year, picking up that contract. But with that being said, something to consider: all the other holes on the defensive side of the ball. You're going to need like 4 linebackers. You got to replace Levante David. You got to find someone better than Servassier Dennis. Can you do it through the draft? Not likely. It would help if it's a veteran. It would help if it's, I don't know about a notable veteran, but the more money helps. If you make a move for a Max Crosby, you're kind of shortchanging yourself in a way.
Here's the thing: you're going to be giving up draft picks for Max Crosby. So, to improve yourself through the draft, what draft picks?
That's the thing, too. If the Buccaneers are division winners, that draft pick goes from, like, I think right now it's, 12 or something
They're
like that?
13 right now.
Yeah, it jumps all the way up to what, 19?
If they lose in the first round, it'll be 19.
Right. So you have to take the good with the bad. You have to kind of weigh what means more to you. But when you look at a move like that for a player like Max Crosby, like there's only a couple guys like that in the league. And I think the Bucs for the last 4 years, we've basically been sitting around saying like, man, could you imagine if they had a top tier guy? And like Max is one of those guys. He's one of those douchebags that we've talked about too, that the Bucs don't have enough of. So I think it's a great fit, and I think it's realistic. But in your opinion, would you rather go get a Max Crosby, or would you rather have a little bit more spending money to bring in some more veteran talent in different places? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it's tough, right? I mean, it is tough. Is it something they're going to have to weigh, right? Because you can't do it all, right? You can't trade for Max Crosby and do this and do that, and this isn't Madden, like you can't really do it that way. So, and like we mentioned, we talk about, you can get guys through the draft. Well, you're going to be giving up premium draft picks for multiple years, by the way. It's not just going to be like, just give them a first round pick and they're good. Like, no, it's going to cost more than that. Like, it's probably going to be your first this year and probably next year, and then maybe another draft pick at some point. So, I saw somebody say that Max Crosby is old and washed. He's going to be 29 next season, so I don't know if that's considered old. And he had 10 sacks this year in 15 games on playing on a terrible Raiders team. So I don't know if I'd exactly say he's old and washed, but he's still a very good football player. And look, the Buccaneers should be calling. Right, like they should be calling just to see, Jason Light call up his old buddy John Spytek there in Vegas, and again I saw some people, well, yeah, the Bucs are gonna have a great chance because of Spytek. So he's got to do what's best for his football team. He's not trying to hook up Jason Light, because they're pals, So that doesn't really matter that much. But if the offers are close, maybe that is the difference in him saying, well, maybe I'll go back to Jason and see if he wants to match this or something like that. That's where that relationship can sort of come into play. But yeah, the Bucs should, and I think might be interested in Max Crosby. Not saying they're going to get him, but I wouldn't be shocked if they call about him.
And the Raiders are in a situation where it's like they very well could be looking at, man, what could we get for Max? Because the expectation...
Well, if it's not this offseason, it's probably never.
That's fair. The expectation is that Pete Carroll's going to be out, one and done year. You get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. You get a new head coach coming in. He gets to decide what kind of team it's going to be. Not saying it's going to be a John Gruden fire sale situation like they did with Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, but you literally never know. If you can find decent compensation and you prefer to build through the draft, then put it on the back of your all-star edge rusher, then by all means. A player's word can only go so far in the NFL. And Max has said like he wants to be a Raider for life, but oh well. With all due respect to Max and the Raiders, it's just not.
It seems
how
like he might be a
work.
little fed up. He might be a little fed up.
I would hope he is. He'd look great in red and pewter. He would look awesome here with them damn tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, but then the other thing is, right, I'm sure there's other teams thinking that as well, right? Yeah. So it's not just like, it's just the Bucs calling. Like, no, there's going to be probably 15, 16, 17 other teams, maybe even more than that calling about this guy. So it's not going to be cheap.
It's going to be interesting to see how that entire situation shakes out. But ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for today's episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Want to thank everybody for jumping on here short notice. Never had a chance, who I think might be Tony Baloney. James in the chat, Steinbauer Sports, Bill Camporis getting in here in the last minute, Kiffick with some great questions tonight, Stephen Pryor, anybody else that I may have missed. I know a couple of moderators were in here earlier, I think. Very Thick Hog, The Finest Pickle Dogs, G-Dubs, Dragon Ball Z 911. We appreciate you guys very much. Subscribe to the channel for more great Bucs content if you haven't already. Find us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show and, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram, Bucs_daily. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL and check out his written work at BucsNation.com. You got anything in the hopper?
Well, I mean, look, you got one of two things, right, on BucsNation.com. You're either going to be covering a playoff game next week, or we're going to be discussing maybe potential head coaching candidates. So stay tuned to BucsNation.com. Either way, we'll have it covered no matter what.
You can also find myself, Instagram and Twitter, at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Also, please check out the Rondé Barber Show. We record every single Wednesday. New episodes come out Wednesday afternoons. So tomorrow, we are going to be hitting on some of the topics you heard today and then some. So always exciting to hear the opinion of the Pro Football Hall of Famer, Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend, number 20 in your program, number 1 in your heart. It's Rondé Barber, dude. So please go check that out. I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off for my co-host, Evan Wanish. We will see you in the next one. Until then, and as always, thank you for listening, and go Bucs.